revisions is the current.
Yeah, exactly.
It
I
is.
just like clicked it because I thought maybe the regulations were not really clear. Just-
Uh, And plat revisions is listed in the subdivision guidelines. So there probably should not be a separate tab for,
It's plat revision information, but that is a, if you click on it,
Okay, I clicked on it, nothing came up.
it's got a document. What that is when you posted for the all right edition and King Land subdivision.
oh, yes,
So that's not anything to do with,
that's when we have to post it for 2 weeks if it's
Okay.
required.
so he just hasn't reminded you yet.
Okay. I just looked at it. I was just like,
Well, it'll always be there, but most of the time it'll be blank.
okay, good deal.
Okay. So that's what we have to post, that's where that.
Yes.
It's looking for something for subdivision, right?
Kind of looking.
Well,
Yeah.
for,
What?
come on in here.
You got time?
I think there's supposed to be a guy here to
We're not going into the changing anything in the subdivision. We've changed some stuff, maybe on the checkoff list. And also on the pre-application submittal and process list.
Oh, I thought we'd meet with Justin Beckham today.
No,
Oh, okay. I got confused on that one. When are we supposed to meet with him?
whenever he's get something to show us, whenever he's got it ready to present.
That's what I thought this was.
Well,
Oh,
it may
yeah.
not be necessary.
Still spinning.
Hadn't taken it yet.
If y'all. We in.
I made my changes, but it's still spinning.
Yeah. That e-file system of yours.
While I had it open, I sent the president an email on your behalf.
That's good. As long as they put me in the federal.
All I said was, let's go grant.
Oh, good night. That's not crazy.
It is.
That's just, I don't fit in this world anymore. Yeah. So I call the workshop to order on Thursday of Van Zandt County Commissioners Court on Thursday, November the 4th, 2021 at 10:28 a.m. Quorum is established, all members of the court present, no public comments. We're here to discuss item number 3, discuss and consider changes to the pre-application submittal and process list for subdivisions. Who wants to
I'll start off.
take it?
I would like the commissioners consider this pre-application submittal and process application. It's what it involves really, before somebody runs in here with a Mylar copy and ready to file everything, and then we just all of a sudden have to look at it. Oh, we got to change something here.
That may be dangerous. That may be dangerous, putting a microphone in front of you. That kind of what? Yeah, no, tell what we're about to hear. Do we need to start over?
This was already recorded
Okay,
when I saw a version of, don't come in. So I haven't had it going. That's good number.
I thought it was all going because he got kicked out a few more ago, I think.
Well, I had to stop it.
yeah, okay. Okay, I think we're still good. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
And to take up where I left off, there's many developers and landowners that just come in here with Mylar copies in their hand and they're ready to file it. We hadn't looked at anything. We don't know anything about it. And this here, this pre-application submittal process, it involves them meeting with the commissioner that the wherever the developer is, what precinct he's developing in, and present a kind of a sketch plan of what it is, and the sketch plan may show kind of the road layouts, the lots, the boundaries, and other significant features before they ever go to a Mylar copy and the surveyor plats it and brings it down to us. At least we'll know something about it before they surprise us with the Mylar copy and want to file it with the county clerk. So this kind of slows down the process just a little bit, because we're going to get hit probably with more often than not a lot more subdivisions that are coming into this Van Zandt County. Gives us a little time to sit down with the developer or the landowner and talk about what he's going to do. He can show us a little sketch. It doesn't have to be a Mylar copy, but just a pencil sketch of what he's going to do. And it also tells him about what he needs to do to complete an application. And it sets out the statutory 30-day time frame for the plat approval. I'd just like you to look over this and see if this would be suitable for you all to initiate.
Well, I like it. I think it needs to be done because we're having people, like you say, come in here by the groves, bringing in plats and want to file them. And we may never even seen the people up to that point. And we can't do it, but this will give them a direction of how they're supposed to do it. I think this is a lot easier than say we'll go to the subdivision regulations, because it's like 80 pages long. It's not real easy to look at and tell what they need to do, but this should set them out on the right path. And you have to meet with the commissioner first up for him to be aware of it. I like it personally.
Oh, am I supposed to sit down with a person and I'm supposed to tell them subdivision policy versus them read?
No, he's supposed to show you what he's going to do. It's a pre-submittal. He's going to show you a sketch plan, and it could, like I say, it could be in pencil. He's going to show you the road layouts, lots of boundaries, and other different features that he's going to put on there, just to give you an idea of what's coming. It's just a heads
And
up.
if they have any questions.
What about where you was talking about having them go through the engineer prior to submitting?
Okay, that's another thing.
Is that going to be?
No, that's-
item number 5?
Yeah, that's another item.
Oh, okay.
This item here is up.
This
first.
here is on the pre-application
Yeah.
submittal
Right.
and processing list
And
for subdivision.
No.
Y'all, and forgive me, but these subdivisions, I don't get involved in.
Yeah.
Do y'all have a pre-application submittal and processing list?
No, we have a checkoff list.
Okay, is that what?
And this is pre-application.
This is the one that I'd like for the commissioners to approve.
Okay,
Yeah.
but it
You
don't
get a copy of
exist
it?
right now.
I had a copy of something several weeks back, but I didn't review it prior to this meeting. I thought.
Have you seen a copy of it?
I got mixed up.
Of what he wants?
Yeah.
Yes,
This,
yes,
whatever that
of what
is.
he's asking for is. Yes, since you asked me that, I'll make a comment. I have no problem with it, going with it. But anything we do does not override the law that Austin put in place. Technically, we cannot make guidelines that prevents a guy from going down there and paying his fee and starting the clock. That's why Austin put that thing in place, because some counties were dragging their feet, postponing them and postponing them and postponing them. So legislation came in there and said, okay, when you apply, you've got, the court has 30 days to make a decision one way or another.
And it's,
So, but we can't make it hard on them to extend that 30 days. If they want to go down there, even, I know Susan's got her little deal, but if somebody really digs their feet in, they walk down to that clerk's office and say, here's my money, I'm turning this in right now. Van Zandt County's gonna give me a decision in 30 days, or it's approved. You can't stop that, no matter what you got.
I don't buy that.
Well,
All you can do
that's
is
why we gotta
make
get, that's why we've gotta have the BAS or somebody explain to us what the statute is. So, but I don't have, if this,
I mean, this is just gonna, this is not to delay anything. This
No, I
is to
understand.
kind of help us get a grasp of what's going on.
I understand,
It's like a sit-down meeting with the developers and, yeah, what are you gonna do? What your roads are gonna be? You're gonna build a road into it, or what's your plans? To save a little time, because if they come down here, you're right, and they've got the Mylar copy and they want to file it, we can't stop them, but it saved them a bunch of time and
Sure,
trouble.
I agree.
If we'll go ahead and, you know what I mean?
I agree.
Why can we not stop them
We
if
don't
they
take
haven't
it.
done what you're supposed to do? To make that application, they shouldn't take the money until the application is started. And we
We're
start
not
it, not.
taking any of them without y'all's signature on the sheet.
There
That way.
there is a
we'll know.
lawsuit coming someday, I promise you.
Oh,
When some guy wants to develop his property and he comes in here and he walks in there to pay his fee and we say no, I'll
Which is what's
guarantee you,
happening.
he's gonna say, okay, I'm documenting, I'm here right now on today's date to start my process. Y'all are turning me down. I'm gonna get me a lawyer. That process is starting today. You're either gonna tell me yes or no in 30 days. Now, we can turn them down.
And we need to turn them down,
Well,
because
that-
that's
that's-
not what our subdivision ordinance says.
but-
It says you got to go through all this stuff and have it all ready when you turn it in, and we start the 30-day clock.
That's why we need a lawyer here. I agree with
And
you.
the lawyer drew it up.
Do what?
A lawyer drew up our subdivision ordinance. And
He
that's what it
didn't draw up our deal on when the clock starts and you can't take money until you do this and all that.
I don't know.
That could
It was
happen.
in the
There's a
packet.
I mean, you know, there's probably, anybody can sue anybody. But I think we'll be prepared for it. And it's like Tim said, the lawyer pretty much wrote our subdivision rules and regulations, and we inputted into him what to put in, and he okayed it. And when he wrote that, he submitted a checkoff list that they should have ready before we can actually accept the plat. That makes sense. You know, the checkoff list makes sense.
I don't know why we're so scared of running this through Mr. Davis and saying, hey, we want to do this. Is this okay? I mean,
I
that's
have
what we.
no problem running through Davis.
I mean, that's-
Davis or Bass?
Well, Bass or Davis,
Either
or
one.
both. I don't care.
Because I guess I'm struggling with, on number 3, it says discuss and consider changes to the pre-application submittal and processing list. Does that pre-application submittal and processing list exist at this moment?
I don't
Because
know
it's
that-
saying make changes to
I
it.
don't know that it's a list, but it states in the subdivision ordinance what they have to do when they have to do it. What this is doing is just telling, it's a simple outline as to what they need to do, not,
Yes, but today, there's not a pre-application.
Yeah,
It's on the
and this is-
application.
There's a checkoff list or something.
The application checkoff list today. There's
Right.
not a pre-application.
No,
Correct?
that's not a bridge. That's what
Okay.
that's what I'm asking
Sure.
you guys to approve so that
You're-
it'll help us out.
Okay,
we've
you're
had a
asking,
couple of them that.
and
came in.
there won't be any decisions made
in here.
in here, because this is a workshop.
Right.
Exactly.
We're not gonna vote on, I mean, we can come to a consensus to carry it to the commissioner's court, but so you're asking the court to approve a pre-application submittal and
That's,
processing
that's
list,
what I'm asking.
not to
Yeah.
make changes to, it,
Well, yeah,
right?
that's right.
Okay.
And I'm good with it, Virgil, but I'd like you to send it to Bass or Davis,
I mean, I can do that.
just to make sure we're not
Yeah.
trying to change the law. That's all I'm trying to do.
Well, I would use Bass, he's the one who drew it.
He's the one who drew it up. I think we just need to send it to
Let's
Bass.
use it with the attorney that would.
But
And all you gotta do, send it to them and ask them if it's legal for us to do this, Virgil. I'm good, let's go.
My first concern is, if they're coming to me and showing me what they got, are they expecting me to basically pre-approving it for them before they submit it? And then when the engineer finds a problem, they go back, well, you said I could. Because I tell you right now, the reason I want to engineer is I don't know that policy good enough to be looking at these things. I'm not an engineer. And tell them, yeah, you're good to go. And I don't want to have them come in and sit down with me and say, this is what I'm doing. What do you think? They say, oh, yeah, that looks good. Draw it up. We'll send it to the engineer. And then they come back. Well, the engineer said, no, why'd you say yes?
Well, I think the answer to that is you look at it and you say, this seems okay to me, but our engineer will have to check it when you
Yeah,
get the
that's
thing
right,
drawn to be sure that it's okay. It's
Exactly.
subdivision ordinance. You can get a copy of it if you want it.
I tell you, it's gonna save us a lot of time and trouble just to talk to these guys before they do something.
The one I got going through now that we was talking about earlier, where we've had to resubmit it, and we're biting the bullet on that review because we don't have the policy for them to pay for the re-review. They was talking to me for a month ahead of time, and I was asking what questions I knew from it for them to try to fix. And when it got to the engineer, he still come up with over half a dozen issues. And then I kind of got caught in the middle of that. I'm like, he's the engineer. And I left it with him.
First of all, I don't have a problem. I'm doing all this now anyway. That, I haven't had one yet that didn't come to me.
Well, I have,
Yeah.
and I got surprised, but I'd like you, I'd like for them people to come to me and
Sure.
let's talk about it just a little. We're not saying, okay, it's approved. We're saying, okay, you gotta go through the checkoff list, and that's what's gotta happen. It's gotta go to the engineer, and they look at it. It just gives us an idea of, we're not surprised when they bring it in.
And what we need to do is tell the people when they bring in their stuff to take to the engineer, the surveyor, whoever's drawn it up, he needs to know what's in that subdivision ordinance so he can do it right. There shouldn't have to be a repeat.
Yeah.
If he does it right, if he doesn't do it right, then it's their expense.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of them have been coming to me in advance, or all of them have, because every time that surveyor draws that stuff up, he's charging them.
Well,
And
yeah,
so
he is.
that surveyor wants to know, hey, I want to know how you want it, because I'm not doing it again without them paying, and the customer wants it that way too. So
Yeah.
I'm surprised they did you that way, but I understand.
And I think it could happen. There's a subdivision going on right now, right outside the city limit of Canton. And they're tearing up land, and I don't know nothing about it. The only thing I learned something about it is Lonnie told me, have you heard anything about this subdivision going on out here? It's in the ETJ. I said, what? It's in the ETJ. That's an unincorporated area of the county. We got to know about it.
That's right.
That's another good question from Mr. Bass. I've also been told it's in the ETJ. It's a matter of whichever district's policy, us or the city whose ETJ it is. So that's another
We
good
can
question.
ask that question too.
I think it'd be the one most restrictive, to be honest with you.
And I'm pretty sure the city of Canton's got a more restrictive policy than we got.
I don't even think the city of Canton has a subdivision policy.
I don't know. I don't know.
But that's something we could ask too, okay?
Okay, so you want to send that, okay.
CJ. And we're gonna send this pre-out to him, let him look over it, see if it's okay.
I think if we do that next item down there, we make them get pre-engineering approval. I think that will accomplish a lot of this too. They can't get an engineer without us knowing about it.
Okay, so that's the next question then. Are we going to, upfront, are we going to pay for the engineer to look at it? And if the engineer has problems with it, said it's wrong, and they have to correct it, are they gonna have to pay the engineer to relook at it?
I think in our guidelines, we need to add a review fee. Right now, we don't have it in there. We need to add that.
So a review fee in case they have to bring it back to the,
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And the developer is responsible for that review fee. It can be passed through it. We can state that it's $150 an hour every time it has to be reviewed. But there's gonna come a time when this court is gonna have to deny. We're gonna have to stand up and flat, like Chad postponed one. There's gonna come a time when we're gonna say, nope, we deny it. Here's the reason we deny it, and everyone start over.
well,
This may be
if
it
they,
this coming meeting. If they don't get it corrected right, there ain't time for a third correction. I may have to deny them next week.
Because if we don't act one way or another, it's automatically approved.
well, they're forcing our hand.
Yes, sir.
And so we've got to act if they force our hand.
Yes, sir. I agree.
That's another question for the attorney. Like when we found this first problem, notified them, here's the problem, let's be corrected. Does that stop the 30-day clock?
Yes,
If you give them written notice, it does stop the 30-day clock.
sure.
When does the clock resume?
When they get it, when they,
When they bring it back
Bring it
and,
back.
and it's been corrected.
that's right.
When they bring it back and the engineer approves it's corrected, or when they bring it back and say I've corrected?
When the engineer approves it.
Engineer, he's the one that turned it in.
You're gonna have to ask, Chad, because I don't think you can turn it down. You can give him how you think this court's probably gonna do, but the court's the one's got to deny.
That's why I'm asking. It's questions we need to find out on that, because that's where I'm at. They brought it back in for a correction yesterday. He's gonna be pressed to get it looked at and let back to me by Friday. And if he sends corrections to them, they're gonna be pressed to get it back for him to see it before next Wednesday. We may have to walk in here and deny them next Wednesday because we don't have approved engineer corrections.
Well, if he wants to force our hand, that's what we'll have to do.
Yes, sir.
Well, but if we don't, I mean, it's just a point. If we just say, oh, if he says, oh, it's all right, I'll make it. And we don't, and we vote to approve it, or we vote to table it, he can say, hey, 30 days passed, it's legal like it stands,
That's right.
first submitted.
You've got, it's not tabled. In
You
30
gotta-
days,
you
you
gotta
have to
turn it
deny
down.
or approve.
That's right.
You
So if
can't, you
we,
can't just take no action.
exactly, so I've got to either, it's got to be right and approve it, or I've got to deny it Wednesday, or else he can say my first copy is approved.
That's right.
Get it on the agenda. If he's forcing our hand, we'll deny it.
Oh, it's on there, it'll be on there. Jim.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I explained it to him too. I explained to him, if it's not correct, I won't have a choice but deny it. Otherwise it becomes clarified, it becomes legal.
We really need a probably no longer, you don't have to come here, we can do it on Zoom. 30 or 45-minute session with Mr. Bass, since he's the one we started with, or Mr. Davis, I don't care.
And where does that leave me when y'all don't approve it? He forces the hand there and tries to file it.
That's a question for the lawyer. I'm saying we're doing wrong by telling somebody they can't go down there and file. I think they can file anytime they want to. And we can't stop it. That's a question for, I mean, me and Tim disagree, we're not lawyers. I don't know.
He got one
well,
over here.
but our deal is that with the county clerk, that we already said, if it doesn't come down there with approval by the court or the commissioners, she's not gonna take the money.
If it's legal, that's why we all ask the
Right,
lawyer.
yeah.
That,
Well, because a lot of times stuff that's filed in my office is not legal, but we can't tell the person.
You're right.
Notice
what I'm saying.
That's all we're
all
doing.
the things to ask the lawyer.
I've got them down too, so we'll compare notes.
Have you got a list of
You got
the
the-
Well, then I would
questions?
say,
Yeah.
if somebody goes down there and files
You-
it like that, and it has been
Yeah,
approved.
how much
on the
dollars?
very
Compare
next
stock.
meeting,
When does
we
it
have
start?
to deny it.
that's
When
right.
does it stop? and
How
when
does
does
it
it stop?
stop?
Do what?
How does it, how do we stop it and how does it restart?
You what, Jennifer?
Well, we need a list to ask the question. I mean, we've made several statements. Hey, we need to talk to the attorney. We need a list of the questions to ask the attorney.
I'm making a list right now.
Okay. There's about 3 or 4.
I think we're at 5.
I have two.
Huh?
I have two.
I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
That's one too fast for me.
But anyway, you can give me your questions.
Well, I think you got mine. Yes, sir.
What are
We need to know the process of when we can start filing. What stipulations we can put on the developer. On when he can go.
I'm gonna send him this and see if this is legal.
Yes, sir. We need to know if a pre-application is not breaking any law that we can do that. We need to know what the process is by law. If we deny one, what can we do as far as, do they start all over on a new fee? And we need to ask them about those applications and the review fees.
Well, that 30-day clock work around when we find problems and notify them? How does it stop and start in
Yes.
relation to that? And how do we properly
We
notify them?
we mainly just need a review of that law, Don. Of that statute.
If there's a problem with it, it says in the statute that by written notice, you notify them, and that stops the clock.
Yes,
And I don't know how, I guess it would start up again when they've corrected the problem.
yes, sir.
Is it corrected when they say I fixed it here? Is it corrected when the engineer says, yes, they
Well, if
corrected?
it's
But I
an
think what Chad was asking a while ago is, can the commissioner of that precinct issue that letter? Does that have to be through the
That's
court?
right. That's all that.
I
We
think,
have to have a review of this
I think that that's before it gets to the court. I think you gotta, it's on you to tell them.
If this were, I can say the engineer found these problems and forward it to him, it stops the
That's
clock.
right.
And then when the engineer reviews it and says we're good to go, the clock starts back. That'd be great. It solves a lot of problems.
Yeah.
But if it's not, if it takes a vote of the court to tell them, that's a whole nother ballgame.
Take a vote of the court.
And if it starts back the minute they hand it back to you, not when he finishes reviewing it, that's a whole nother ballgame. They could walk back in here Wednesday morning at 8 o'clock and say, here, the meeting's at 9. You ain't got time to look at
This
it.
whole thing came about because of, and not here, of places in the state of Texas where a developer went to a commissioner and said, well, I want to do this and this. And for some reason or other, that commissioner said, nope, I ain't doing it. Well, he come back later on, said, nope, I'm not doing it. So they went and lobbied down there at Oxford, we got to have some help. We got this one guy here sitting here preventing us from putting this subdivision in, and it shouldn't be one guy doing that. So that's why this law was put in place, so that it goes to this court to make that decision. So that's why we need a review of that statute.
Well, we can't deny a subdivision on our own. I mean, it's not us denying it, if he doesn't follow the rules, that's what denies it. Not us, it's the rules the court put in place.
Another
That's why
question,
we need him to come here and explain this law.
another question for the lawyer is, can we require pre-approval by the engineer before filing?
Well, if you don't, you're never gonna get one done in 30 days, because you're gonna have to deny at the very next court meeting, because you don't have any time.
I agree. That's why I want to find out if we can get it ahead of time. Can they walk in with everything ready to go and all the approvals? It's just a matter of when's our next court date scheduled?
Well, that's what you wanna have done, if you can, get the pre-application thing done, do your checklist, have the Mylar and the 6 copies and bring them in, and then you can accept it. Before that, if you accept it, you just guaranteed yourself that you're gonna have to deny it at least once, because these 30 days ain't gonna work.
You ain't got time
Not
to
with
review it.
two, not with 2 commissioner meetings in 30 days.
I think we all start adding weekly.
Monthly.
Well, that's why there's,
Bi-weekly to get this done.
Okay, all right, so.
Okay, okay, so that's, and I don't know your name.
My name?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I'm Jenny Gray.
Jenny Gregg,
Mhm.
and are you here for the subdivision
Yeah,
workshop?
I was actually, you guys had to say about it, I'm in mortgage, and, I've been having relatives ask me about subdividing properties.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, do you have any questions? Because I always let you be a part of it, anybody that shows up.
No, I was just wondering, like, I need to probably go into Susan's office and get the application, like, I don't understand how they would really be restricted. Why would they add these restrictions? They're asking me questions about it.
Okay, well,
I really am just very curious as to how it's all working. Most of we do mortgages up in the city and they're already all subdivided and, you know, it's just an easy quick house for sale. There it is. But out here, people are wanting to buy like 1,020 acres, but they're wanting to divide it into 5 acre tracts. And, they don't want to like a trailer park moving in across the street from them, stuff like that. So I'm hearing from other realtors, they're hearing from buyers, like they're wanting their property value to. So they're asking me questions about our property values and what type of foods laws and how where I want to divide this up in that. So, I mean, those are kind of the questions. How you guys are deciding when it's okay?
Do you have a copy of the subdivision ordinance?
You know,
There, you can get it on our website, and just print it off. There's a lot of printing, but, you can get it and it will explain everything that you need to know, really.
okay.
And as far as the deed restrictions, we have nothing to do with that. That's the property owner and what they're putting in the deed. It's
I
all-
believe they have to file those before they go to court, though. I think you have to have proof of them filing. them in our
Deed
law.
restrictions.
Deed restrictions?
Yes, I
haven't
think
seen
so.
anything on
I
that.
think that's what they've been doing. I mean,
That's,
maybe they're just doing that.
I've requested some filing in advance
Okay.
on a subdivision where there's a road going in there, so I could verify to you guys at court on who's gonna maintain that road.
Yeah.
I wanted those restrictions put in there first, so that y'all would know that, so it wouldn't come back to harm a future court.
Right.
Well,
That I remember is-
a future court, really,
Yeah.
It is.
protecting them.
Another question for the attorney list.
I wrote it.
You got it?
down.
Okay. Is that all on number 3?
Yes, we go to, what did we want to add to the subdivision checklist?
Okay.
Did you want something, Susan, about,
Something for you to sign.
I added it.
Huh?
It's on the next to the
some
last.
next, okay? Let's look at it then. Where's it at?
Next to the last.
Next to the last, okay.
Well, that's number 4. That's where we're going.
It's a place on the Mylar for the
Mhm.
county
Last
clerk to
ones include
sign.
areas for county judge and county clerk to sign.
Yeah, because I have to sign off on them, and a lot of them don't have it in space there, so I've been stamping them, but it should be on there.
And I'll also put all copies need to be signed by the surveyor, sealed and notarized, because they'll bring in their smaller copies and nothing signed or notarized on the smaller copies, and that's what Susan likes to put in the slide with the Mylar, so that they can
I agree with
copy
that.
that, and that has to go to the appraisal district as well, so it needs to be.
Sign and seal, I agree.
Yeah, and we can
Every-
scan
every
it.
copy.
We can scan it just in case someone does not go to the tax office. Karen doesn't have to come here, try to piece it together. We can scan it and she can actually pull it off our website.
I agree, all copies should be signed and sealed.
And then submittal of that to county engineer for review.
Is that what we're talking about when we do that as part of the checklist? So it's done when it gets
Right.
done. And we got that on there to ask them while you're about. I like that. I think if it's legal to do that, that would sure help a
So
lot.
that's putting it on them to submit it to our engineer before they come in and file it,
So
right?
who's gonna pay for that though, if it's being done before it gets done?
That's what we gotta find out.
Find out, I think
That's the review fee, right?
that could be the review fee.
Well, okay.
Or either that, or then we pay for the first review But then if there's a problem with the subdivision and they have to go back, it's on them.
Well,
Yes, sir.
if we're paying for the first review on this one was $900.
That's right. We're not paying any more on that one.
Well, our
We
fee is
collected
$750. We're losing $150 on that.
Well, once approved, they'll file another 750, so we'll make a total of 150 minus whatever her filing fees are, is what 1,500 would make, minus her filing fees is what's available. We could easily spend more than that with this re-review.
So I think that's something we gotta figure it. Are we gonna cover the re-review charge, or are they gonna have to go and pay for it themselves?
The
Or are we
customer,
gonna hire an engineer?
I wish we could, wish we had the money to.
And we're back to, if they're bringing it in completed, done, signed off on by the engineer, when they file it and start the 30 days, it's done.
It's
It
done.
doesn't matter of who paid for it, when it went to the engineer. Did we pay for it or they paid for it?
I agree with Virgil. The first review is covered under the application fee. Anything extra, if it's denied and starts over, the fees, the developer is responsible for.
Yeah.
All I do is we'll go back to when that clock starts and stops and how.
Right.
It may allow it to happen after they submit if the clock stops, and it's a matter of just drafting an email from the commissioner or from the engineer.
You know, I'm sure the guy's right, but I can't see how you could spend 6 hours on 1 mile or.
Well, I don't either. That's, to me, that,
There were a lot of, that was like 30 plats in it, where it's cut into 3 different pieces. From 3
Let me tell
different
you something.
roads.
That's something that I would not have caught. What he called,
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying,
I wouldn't
yeah,
have picked it up.
probably figured that out.
He checked the links and added them up, and made sure the lots were the size they're supposed to be by the survey links on the, and everything, and all that come up wrong.
Well, he may have been. He may have
He
been.
may have spent 6
that,
hours on it.
that might ought to go back to the surveyor.
Well, it's got to go back to somebody to correct it.
It did, and he corrected it and brought it
Brought
back.
it back yesterday.
But, you know, he's looking at things that, that's why I was worried about when they first bring it to me. I'm going, oh, yeah, it looks
Yes.
good. And
It
then,
hasn't gone back to the engineer though, because I called him and he has not made contact with me.
I spoke to Brian yesterday, and he was supposed to come get it, but they sent him over a digital copy of it too.
Okay.
So he may be looking at that and then we'll compare it to the true Mylar. I spoke to him yesterday.
So on this one, we're gonna wait to add that in there on the checklist, submittal of back to county engineer for review. Are we gonna?
Well, we just need to tidy up the verbiage, version on the, everything's good if everything goes through the first time. We pay for it out of our application fee. We've just got to get something in there to cover if it's not good.
A review fee?
Yes, something, whatever we're gonna call it.
If they, they may not have to pay a review fee.
They may not have to,
That could be correct, the
Yes,
first time they submit.
yes, sir. And then that's covered by us on the application fee.
Okay, my question is, are we submitting the plat to the engineer or are they?
It goes back if we have it required on the checklist or if we do it after. A lot of this stuff we got here, Virgil, it's gonna be, have to be worked after we find out from the lawyer what we can and can't do.
Yeah, so. the
I
first-
actually think we should. The reason why is that when all this goes about, our 30-day clock's coming. And if we tell them that, hey, take that in there, and they, all of a sudden, a week's gone by, and we have to deny it, I would rather make sure that I've gotten that, and either I've taken it there, or you've ran it there, or
Well,
whatever.
the contract is between he and the county, so it doesn't make sense for. Unless they come in, I just feel like we should
What? We should-
submit it to the engineer.
Yeah, we can do that. But it doesn't start the clock.
No, the
No.
clock can
The
start.
clock can start, we can submit it, but
Right.
yeah, we can,
It's a
we
requirement on
can
the
call
checklist.
Brian, say we got one down here, come down and get it. Yeah,
Okay, so all of this has to be checked off before
Right.
I give them that paper to take down to the
That's
county
true.
clerk's office to start.
that's
So
true.
that is a requirement
Yeah,
on here.
And that's gonna be a question probably that we need to ask Bob.
Yeah.
When we call.
Okay.
I mean, I agree with it, but I'm just saying.
Yes,
what's the
I'm-
question?
What's the question?
Yeah. That's what I'm-
Yeah.
Do does the county take it to our engineer, or does the developer take it there? I'd say,
Well, they could sure put you in a bind.
oh, they sure could. That's why I would rather
No.
come here.
They couldn't put you in a bind because
Well,
they don't have an
that's
application.
right.
If you're paying for it and they took it down, you're obligated to know.
That's true.
Well, you're obligated to know, but you're not running your 30 days.
it's probably better for us to submit it to the engineer, but they gotta know, okay, that's just part of the checkoff list.
Yes,
I think once we get done talking to the attorney, and getting these answers, we'll be able to make this list you got. real.
yes, sir.
I think we just gotta get these answers.
And I'm not opposed to that. I'm glad that's what we're all about today.
Okay, and then on the checklist, it has confirmation of contact with the county commissioner in which the precinct is located. So that's a requirement as well. I mean, the pre-application submittal and processing, is that,
You have to take care of that stuff.
Yeah,
is it just, yes. So confirmation of contact, is that a phone call or is that the sketch plan? I mean, what is
it's gonna
that?
be this right here, sketch plan. If they do this and we have it, they're gonna come in and talk to us, and so they notified us.
Okay. They're not gonna be allowed to file anything until they've contacted you guys.
Yeah,
No, they couldn't file a sketch plan.
Well, I know, but I.
Yes,
They'll try.
They
Yeah.
could, it just won't get approved.
Well, there've been some that have happened before years ago, drawn by hand.
that's true.
and their worst case scenario, Tim, especially after we talk to Mr. Bass, there may be some times that all of a sudden I'm in a bind and that 30 days is about to run out. I'm gonna have to go with Don and call a special session. Hey, we've got to meet on this right now
Yep.
to deny it.
Yeah, you're right.
Because if we don't, it's gonna get approved. Now, if we know we're gonna approve it, okay, don't do nothing. It's
Well,
automatically
a
approved.
good example is if they filed it on Thursday after our meeting on Wednesday, we're only gonna have one meeting in the next 30 days
Yes,
then to answer it. And they can't get it all done in 2 weeks.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I agree.
So there could come a time when we have to, we may have to call you out of retirement to come in and meet.
Come on, man. Yeah.
Well, he's already
Matter of
retired.
fact, I'm on, go away with the phone.
Okay, what else we got? on
You
this?
got that number 5, discuss and consider plat review process by county engineer.
That's what we just.
Yeah, that's what we just
That's what we
discussed.
just discussed.
So you got your list for questions for the
I
attorney?
just-
I think we can get together and compose a list.
I think we're all on the same table, on the same page.
Yeah.
Virgil.
Oh, yeah. Hey, I agree.
So do you have any questions?
I really need to turn off the.
The
Okay,
subdivision,
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's a shame in the world we live in, we can't have a discussion like this without posting it to the public. And that's why we have to come in here, you're probably sitting there thinking, why are they in here doing this? By law, we have to do it this way. We can't go in that room and talk about it without everybody
Yeah.
knowing it. So,
I'm just curious.
that's right.
Oh, my, yeah. All minds clear?
Let me get
I
back.
have a question.
Okay.
I have a plat sitting in my office that surveyor dropped off the other day and said that their client was gonna come with the rest of the paperwork, and they have not shown up. It's been a week. I don't have a phone number for the client. I didn't get a contact for the surveyor's office. She was not very helpful with that information. Am I supposed to be accepting plats that y'all have not looked
Yeah.
at and to hold in my office in this
Not really.
situation?
Not really.
Or-
Well, I disagree. I think it's fine. We can take it, look at it, and it don't mean a thing.
If you knew what commissioner it
Well,
belonged
precinct
to.
3, but he had never heard of it.
Okay.
It wasn't just, it
See,
wasn't
that-
discussed. They're not
that's what-
filing it.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but they hadn't filled out their checklist or anything, so
Right.
nothing,
Right.
I mean,
The
That's
clock
what-
hadn't
That's
started.
starting
No, the
clock.
clock hadn't started.
The clock hadn't.
But that's what we're asking for. We're asking for them to bring it to me. Let me look at it. So sooner or later, they're gonna reach back out to me and say, hey, did you look at that? And I say, yeah, I've been waiting on you to call me back. So I think you can take it. You know,
You can take it in, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter anything because the clock's not
That's right.
started.
Okay.
but how can we do a pre-review if we don't take it in? That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Yeah.
I say accept it. So let me look, I mean, just say, okay, I'll pass it on to them.
Okay.
That's no different than Washington States I've got. They email me over their rough sketch to begin with.
Well, this is
That's a good idea.
You know,
not a
and it's
rough
done.
sketch, this is a Mylar and
Yeah.
six, you know.
So
classes.
does y'all's clock start once they do the first filing in my office?
That's when it starts.
That's what we understand
Exactly.
now.
And that's what
They do
Is
that.
that
They've gotta
the file
have-
That starts the
stamp,
clock.
the date stamp,
Correct.
everything is.
Right, that way, you know.
They have to
exactly.
have.
Okay, I
their-
was just making sure.
They have to have their checklists all done. Everything has to be
Well, you
done.
know,
right?
I won't send them down there
Right.
unless it is completed,
That's correct.
so that's why we.
That's what we're doing now.
Yeah.
Whether it's right or not, that's what we're gonna find out.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot easier for me when all of it is done. Once I see a signature from y'all, then we know, okay, this is our first, you know, make sure we file stamp both, I mean, whatever comes in. I mean, we
Yes.
file stamp it that way, whether it's a clock starting or whatever, we just do that. I just didn't know, and making sure that y'all are covered for your start time.
Yeah.
But we could, otherwise, we could go through the whole thing. You could go in here, you could take their money and all this kind of good stuff, and then all of a sudden the power company says, we can't serve you.
Correct.
So then where are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta have this thing done
That's right.
before you turn it in.
Okay,
I guess we're through.
Okay, got a motion to adjourn?
So be.
Okay, got a motion by Commissioner West, second by Commissioner Melton. All in favor, say aye.
that's good.
We go. We're adjourned. Well, I know that she didn't get any, on the financing part of it, didn't get much answer.
Yeah.
Well,
What?
Mortgage company are you with?
every morning, we
15
have an option
Okay.
for our call
I'm ready.
and ballots and, I allow them to pay
Yeah.
only
Look.
out there.
Like Jennifer said, download those